In this video, we're going to talk about the most overrated cards from Voyage to the Sunken City. Now, I'll be honest, it's taken a little longer than normal to get to this video, so this is going to include a little bit of a confusing set of data. I actually did have the foresight to grab the played data for these cards before the round of buffs hit. You guys remember we got a bunch of buffs to cards like Z-Log right here behind me? This data was collected before that. So this is more of the sort of initial expansion season data. So this is capturing expectations pre-expansion versus the reality right after the expansion. In other words, Z-Log was rated at 3.9 stars by the Hearthstone community at large, based on an average of rankings from a few different sources. And in reality, he was absolutely not a 3.9 star card. Before he got buffed, Z-Log was the 121st most played card of the expansion. As you can see here, 121st out of 135 cards at the time, of course, from the base expansion set. So in the bottom 15 cards of the expansion, but he was rated as the 56th best. So well inside the top half, but in reality landed at the bottom 15. Now, the real mark of shame here, the real mark of shame is that I gave Z-Log 5 stars. And you guys as a Hearthstone community as a whole, not maybe all of you individually, but you know, on an average, you way overrated Z-Log. 3.9, 56 was way too high. That's like literally twice as high as it should have been. I rated him even higher, and I'll tell you why. Because he was like one of the first colossals, maybe literally the first colossal that got revealed, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited, I'm so hyped about these colossals. I have to give this guy 5 stars. But to be honest, I actually thought Z-Log was going to be really good because it felt a lot like Priestess of Fury, but basically with more total stats and more total bodies. So I thought it would be like harder and more awkward to deal with. And in some ways that's true, but also it's a little less reliable and just less total output. And the world of Hearthstone has shifted a little bit since Priestess of Fury was a really good card as well. So of course, now in the future, we know this got buffed. They doubled the damage of the stocks at a base level from 1 to 2. So now Z-Log does 4 damage. Instead of doing 4 damage, Z-Log does 8 damage. And that's a much better play. And now Z-Log is actually a really good card. Z-Log is getting played at a high level. In Fell Demon Hunter, it's actually currently kind of the best deck in the game, depending on the day and the moment, but Fell Demon Hunter right now, best deck in the game. Z-Log is a part of that deck, one of the core cards. All it took was doubling the size of the effect, and suddenly Z-Log is a good card. So yeah, this one was vastly overrated. You know, it shows what a buff can do, shows what a change can do. This card will get worse as time goes on. I think that's probably fair. Yeah, as things get more refined. Cards that are like just dumps of stuff aren't as good in like highly synergistic packages and metas. So yeah, Z-Log was actually the least overrated card in this video. We're starting at the least overrated. We're going to go to the most overrated is going to be the final card of the video. And by the way, that's determined based on the difference between the spot that it was rated by the community and where it was played. So this is a difference of what, 65 spots. This is 65 spots lower than its rating. The next card, as you can see, is 66 spots lower than its rating. Whirlpool was rated at 4.2 stars by the community. That landed at the 29th highest rated card. So in the top 30 cards of the expansion. That's pretty good. That's up there. That's where you would expect cards to be in a very playable state. And in reality, it landed at the 95th most played. So outside the top half of all cards. I personally gave this one 3 stars. It felt a little slow to me. And remember, this was 9 mana. I actually probably should have included the 9 mana version here. I didn't include the correct version because people were rating the 9 mana version. I rated the 9 mana version. As we know, Whirlpool has been buffed to 8 mana. And guess what? It's still not very good. It's still not getting played a lot in the larger Hearthstone meta. We can actually look up that data real quickly. Whirlpool is currently in 2% of decks. Now, there is a little bit of a saving grace and a hope for this card, because if you look at Priest decks specifically, It is in 28% of priest decks. So once you filter down to priest specifically, basically the control or slow varieties of priest are playing this card. Now, they're not doing so very successfully. It's got a 47% win rate, but its strong win rate is high for the deck. So it does seem like it's one of the better control priest cards, and probably quest priest even more specifically as one of the 8 drops you need to finish quest. That's a good sign for the card at 8 mana. It has a utility in quest priest. It's a little bit better at 8. Still not an amazing card. Still not a 4.2 star card, but it's hopeful. And on that note, we should say, just because a card is appearing on this list right now, it doesn't mean that this card is doomed forever or that it will never be good. It's just not good yet. So far, it has been overrated. Next up, this one was not especially highly rated, but I still thought it was noteworthy for one reason. This is at the time I gathered this data, this was the least played card of the entire set. It was ranked 135th. It literally is last. As chat says, I have never seen this card in my life. So basically the epitome of a 1-star card, right? Obviously last place, you got to say, basically a 0-star card really at the time of data collection. So 3.7 is not an especially high rating. It basically landed exactly halfway in the pack. 67th is about as close. 67.5 would be split down the middle. Barely in the top half of cards, but in reality, the actual least played card of the entire set when I gathered this data. So clearly not living up to a 3.7 star rating. And this one's all about like cheating out these spell schools. And I think best case is like big spells specifically that you want to cheat out. And there just aren't a lot of big spells right now to cheat out. We just got one in the mini set, the new 5-mana spell. It's a nature spell that summons a couple 5/4 rushers. Like that's probably a good card for this. We're going to experiment with this a little bit, probably in the next week or so. So, if this gets a big fire spell and a big frost spell that are not risky to play because it's chosen randomly targets, right? It needs the right sort of stuff to be interesting. Then it could live maybe in like a clumsy courier space where it's a 7-mana card that cheats out some big crazy stuff. And it is a copy too, so it's not like you're losing those cards in hand. So it's kind of cool. I don't think that'll ever be a high tier, high meta thing. It's not like going to be a tier 1 deck, but could this fall into like a tier 3 space where it gets some play? I don't think that's impossible. It just needs the right package of cards. All right, next up is Bottom Feeder. This one's interesting. I really thought this card was going to be better. I don't know why I only gave it 3 stars. Is this right? I don't think this is right. I think I got the wrong data on here. Hold up. I'm pretty sure I gave this 4 stars and forgot to update that. No, I did. I gave it 4 stars. Okay, so ignore this. My rating was 4 stars. Because I thought Bottom Feeder is just, 1 mana 1/3 is good in aggro decks. We've seen a lot of beast aggro-y druid stuff leading up to Sunken City, so this seemed like it fit very naturally in that. Like almost ignore the death rattle. Like, yeah, it's an upside, but who cares? I care more about just being a cheap beast. But it turns out there's other good cheap beasts that just do the same thing but better, like Druid of the Reef, right? Druid of the Reef was getting played, and not just in aggro decks. It's being played because, like, hey, I can make copies of these as 3/1 rushers with Oracle Valoon in my like slower Druid deck. I can still use that for a big swing, And Bottom Feeder doesn't have that immediacy or that reactivity. So this one was rated 4.1 by the community. That's for 37th highest rated card in the expansion. In reality, landed outside the top 100. Really wasn't getting played at all. And I don't think it is even now, right? I don't think I still see this played. Yeah, unfortunately, Bottom Feeder is still only in 0.1% of all decks, even if you filter down to Druid, only in 3% of Druid decks right now. So still not getting played, and the data does not look good for it. I don't know when this is going to get there if it doesn't already get there. I feel like it's just kind of lost. It's just not fast enough. Takes too long for these stats to scale out. If it had taunt or something, like, it might make more sense, right? Then you can make the stats make a more immediate impact. But every time I've tried to play this, I felt the same way. It's like, oh, these stats are just sitting there and they're hitting me and I can't do anything. So that lack of reactivity. All right, next up is the Black Scale Brute. This one was rated 4 stars by the community. That's inside the top 50. In reality, in the bottom, 13 cards? Bottom 10% basically of all cards, despite being guessed at the top half. I've never seen this played. I played this once in duels, one time. I put it in a deck. I think we played it one game. And that's literally all. I've never seen it in standard a single time. So currently this is, even a 2-star rating feels a little high. This is kind of in that 1-star range really at the moment. And I don't know if it's going to get there. In theory, there's still some interesting things about this card to like. It's just, you know, a couple big 5/6s. It can react immediately, and it has taunt, so it's like kind of got that magical spot. But I guess maybe the weapon condition was just too much for this, like having a weapon equipped on 7. I don't know. It just sort of fell through the gaps. Maybe this is one of those cards nobody really needs. I was thinking about this versus like Tidal Revenant, the new card that just came out in the mini set, the 8 mana 5/8 that has Battlecry deal 5. In a lot of ways, Tidal Revenant sort of does the same thing as this card. Like, yeah, it's a mana more, but if you think about it, right, the 5/6 rush is kind of like dealing that 5 damage on the Battlecry. The 8 health you gain from Tidal Revenant is sort of equivalent to like having Taunt on board for 6. Now, obviously, it's like, yeah, there's, you know, 1 body instead of 2. There are situations where that's better, but it's not conditional. You know, you just kind of have it. It can go face. So Tidal Revenant is sort of in that same sphere, but less conditional and probably has more overall utility and sort of flexibility in how it gets utilized. So Tidal Revenant gets played and Black Scale Brute does not. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys think this one will ever turn around? Will there be some kind of like weapon package that makes this worth it? I don't really think so. I don't think this payoff is significant enough that even if the condition is easily achieved, I don't really think you're getting enough back out of this card. I don't actually see this one coming back to life. All right, so since I spoiled it, next up is the Glaive Shark. This one was rated at 4.4 stars, good for the 23rd highest rating in the expansion by the community. In reality, lands right about the 100 spot, just inside the top 100. I also gave this one 4 stars. This looked like it just did a lot. It's basically a consecration on a stick with what I think is a pretty easy condition. Attacking in Demon Hunter is not especially hard. Let's talk about this. This card is too slow for Demon Hunter. Like, if you go back in time and look at this card like years ago, you would lose your mind. But in reality, it's a little too slow for Demon Hunter. It's not fast enough. Actually, Puffer Fist kind of came along and did the same thing with a repeatable effect, right? Puffer Fist only deals 1, so, you know, in some ways it's worse, but sort of repeatable and 1 turn faster, so it helps you snowball sooner. This starts to feel a little bit more like a recovery card as opposed to a snowball card, because it's not repeating, it's 1 time. And Demon Hunter has been more about snowballing and winning early and utilizing that early advantage to hit you a lot, as opposed to playing a little bit slower and kind of recovering in the mid game. So Glaive Shark, I think, just kind of fits on the wrong side of that equation, where it's more about that swing or recovery as opposed to initiative, right? Imagining board states where I want to play this, I just don't know how many there are. Too many 3-drops with high health. That's a good point, is that the like shape of this removal is not well positioned against sort of those singular minion boards that we tend to see. Or even like, you know, if you think about Rogue, right? Rogue is playing 3 3s and 4 5s. Even Demon Hunter 1-drops are 3 health now, like the Slither Spears. A lot of stuff has 3 health. This is kind of an awkward shape. I think they could buff this card, honestly. It's crazy because we rated it so high, but in hindsight, it feels like it could be buffed. I'm not saying it's never going to get played, though. It's still a high output card overall, just shaped weird. The numbers and the sort of costs are all just a little awkward for it, I think. All right, next up, this one's a really interesting one. You may be thinking, wait a minute, I see this card all the time. You might be right, but we're going to talk about it. This one's Swift Scale Trickster for Rogue, rated at 4.5 stars by the community. A lot of people, too, thought this was like OP broken. A lot of like 5-star ratings in there. That's good for 17th highest of the expansion. At the time of the data collection, this was the 93rd most played card. This was not getting played basically at all when this data was collected. So I will say this has certainly changed a little bit, but even though it has, there's a lot to talk about here. It's actually one of the most popular cards in the expansion. It's in 13% of decks. And if you go to Rogue, even more specifically, it's in over half of Rogue decks. So right now, you would actually say this is a very played card. This card has actually gotten played a ton. It would not be anywhere close to 93rd. It's probably like 5 or 10 or something. It's way up there. So it would be living up to its 4.5 star rating. But interestingly enough, it's actually not in a very good deck. It's in an okay deck. It's being played in Jackpot Thief Rogues. Basically, Thief Rogues that are running the Jackpot package. And these aren't the best versions of Rogue. These are like the greedy, fun versions of Rogue. And particularly this list, as you can see, very popular. Ton of games with this list. People are running this because it's fun, not because it's the most competitive. If you look at the like highest win rate versions of Rogue, they don't have Swift Scale Trickster. Like here, we can actually just do this. Hold up. Let's go to Rogue. We look at the highest win rate decks. No Trickster, right? They're much faster decks. They're leaner. They don't run Jackpot and they don't run Trickster. They just want to go faster and kill you sooner. So it's interesting that Swift Scale Trickster is actually still not a particularly competitive card. It's okay. It's, you know, it's still a tier 3 deck in that version of Rogue. But people are running it because it's so freaking fun with Jackpot. And like the greedier Thief Rogue is so fun. So this is probably still not a 4.5-star card by any means. It's probably like a 3.5, maybe 4-star card, depending on your perspective and argument and day. But it's just played a lot because it's fun. So it's really interesting to see that change. We got one card to come along and like kind of support Swift Scale Trickster with Jackpot, and suddenly everybody's playing it. And that's awesome. I love that, by the way, that people are sacrificing win rate just for enjoyment in a, you know, less competitive but still climbable deck. I think that's so sick. That's really cool. All right, next up, I think this is the second to last card, if I recall. I think there's only one more after this. We got to hurry too. This one is KOTORI Lightblade, rated at 4 stars by the community. That left it inside the top 50, but in reality, it was in the bottom 5 cards. Like the least, I think probably the least played legendary, actually, of the entire Sunken City. Now, this one, I went to bat a little bit against the like YouTube comments on this one. I gave this 2 stars. A ton of people were calling me stupid, insane. I got this one right. Obviously, I don't get them all right. Z-Log, I got super wrong. You could have gone at me for getting Z-Log the other way, like giving it too high of a rating. This one felt just awkward and slow to me, like this kind of 2-mana overhead. You kind of want to use as a snowball card, but you also have to spend a ton of mana all at once to make it good. It's not like survivable on its base level, so you kind of have to play it with stuff simultaneously. Just felt really clunky to me. I don't actually still ever really see this card getting played a lot. I mean, there might be a critical mass of like cheap, efficient holy spells that would eventually make this worth it, but I don't see them committing that hard into it. I don't really think KOTORI is going to get there. He does have a cool lightsaber. Yeah, I wish he was going to be played. Yeah, I would love to put this guy in the thumbnail. I mean, I don't even know if I've ever played this, honestly. I don't know if we ever got around to it. We'll go back to it as we get more holy buffs and stuff, but maybe we could try this in duels as well. But you basically, I think, need 0 mana cards for KOTORI to get there, because if you're spending too much mana otherwise, it's going to be really tough. Giving him Divine Shield would help, I think, yes, because then you'd have some survivability and you could maybe tempo this out a turn early and then follow it up with the buffs. Right now, it's just like you got to play so much stuff. You got to have this and another minion and the buff all at once. So you're committing like so much to get it to work, and it's just hard to get all that down in one turn together. So if you could do it preemptively, I think that would definitely help a lot more. Yeah, Bolner has 4 health, exactly. Bolner's a similar kind of card in a lot of ways. Repeating effects, and so if you can tempo it out, you have so much more mana to work with. It's so much easier. So I would say for sure a health buff here would go a long way, but it's possible there's that critical mass of holy spells. Let's just wait and see. So final card, Radiance of Ashara, rated at 4.6 stars. I gave it 4 stars. I think I was pretty dang close to giving this one 5 stars as well. I thought it just seemed insane. It does so much. Fire spell damage. Nature spells cost 1. Frost spells gain 3 armor. Like, that's so much. It was rated as the 10th highest card of the expansion, actually outside the top 100. And I thought, man, has that changed since since we got, like, you know, balance changes? It has not. It's in only 0.2% of all decks, and even if you go to Shaman, it's only in 3% of Shaman decks. So this is not an issue where it's like, oh, Shaman's not good enough. There are burn Shaman decks running all of those spell schools, and they're kind of fringe meta, still not getting played. It's just not good enough. So I think that maybe the problem with this card is it's one of those like jack of all trades, master of none situations where it's a little good at everything, but not that good at anything. That might be the issue. The other thing I wanted to talk about with this card is this was definitely a mage card. There's like no doubt that this was supposed to be a mage card, and it got changed late in the late in the experience or whatever. There's two reasons we believe that. The flavor text says uses arcane, fire, and frost magic. Why does it say arcane? That's weird. That's a mage triple threat, not a shaman school thing. So that's strange. Number two, if you go to the Radiances of Ashara character in World of Warcraft, it's an Arcana Mental. It's an elemental who is built on arcane. I would say that arcana, but for the sake of arcane. It's arcane based. So again, even the character's roots are centered in arcane. The artwork, as you can see, is arcane energy being swirled up. It clearly used to be a mage card and they swapped it. I don't know if like maybe Savara swapped. I don't know like what swapped in or out, right? They must have decided it was like too good in mage, or spell school stuff was scary in mage, or the design kind of fit shaman. So I bet this used to say your arcane spells cost one less, or, you know, maybe it's been tweaked more. We don't know. And this could have been very scary in mage with like more mana cheat and more cycle and like doing a lot of stuff all at once, right? I could see this being a lot scarier in mage for sure. Particularly like Naga mage just popping off with this, you know, squeezing in a ton of extra spell damage and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Spitelash Siren support with this would be crazy. Quest line was also probably really scary when this was getting worked on as well. So I think it shifted over to Shaman, and maybe it just kind of lost something in the process. And like the nature spell discount in particular doesn't have that same like chain ability or cheese ability as you might expect with Arcane or Mage. Yeah, I guess it just does a little bit of everything, but nothing that well. Although I still think all of these effects look independently like kind of insane. I still wouldn't be shocked if this card pops up. Like I wouldn't count this one out. It still does a lot. Even just fire spell damage +2 could be good enough in a deck eventually if they print some more fire burst damage stuff. Yeah, currently overrated. One of the most overrated. As you can see, this was a difference of 96 positions here. Crazy overrated. But I wouldn't count it out. I think this one has some chances. Curious to hear your thoughts. So guys, I gotta go. Good video. Thank you everybody for chatting, hanging out.